This is Character Asked It. You already know Character Did It. I'm here with LMC. Tell them about yourself.
You're calling me LMC, but I have this dual personality. LMC is an artist, a gospel and inspirational artist. I also work. I have a professional lifestyle. I don't try to mix the two together. As a musician, I'm LMC, but as a family man, I am Francis. Other people know me as Francis because that's my working name with the
Francis.
company that I work for.
No, I can totally appreciate that.
That's the way it is. Like in my office, just a few of them know I am LMC, just a few of them.
Sure.
But every other person know I am Francis, and that's the way it is. So those who stumble on LMC, they get surprised by it and they be like, so this is you. So we keep it that way. I do not want to miss that part of my life with this part of my life. I'm just trying to balance everything.
No, that totally makes sense. That makes perfect sense. And, especially we're not as young as some of the other folks in this game, people our age. When we tell other people our age that we make music, man, they look at us like we're crazy,
It's true. But music is something you can do for as long as you want.
Absolutely.
It's something you can't retire from. Yeah, unlike every other profession, music, even when you're in your 80s, 90s, as long as you can sing, you can as well keep doing your music.
Right.
So that's just, yeah.
No, it's absolutely. And music is a beautiful thing. And I recommend anyone try to make music because it's been the most therapeutic thing I've ever experienced in my life.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
How long have you been making music?
Okay, professionally, this is 2023, 20 years now. From 2003, I started writing music. I was listening to lots of rap music, but professionally, I started doing it 2015. That's I think 8 years from now. But I took it more serious 2 years ago, 2021. That's when I changed the kind of music that I'm doing, and I am more focused with it.
What motivated you to start in the first place?
Okay, when I was young, I was always listening to music, any kind of music, mostly rap music. Your music there was ruling our country here back then. So it was always American music, the Tupac, the Next, all these guys who did Wifey, some of those guys that time, is he Jack the Edge? I can't remember most of their names, the Eminems, then before the birth of the Genies and the likes of all of them. So those were the music, the kind of songs we were listening to. Personally, I was consuming all kinds of music. Every kind of music. I was consuming the raga, the rap, the blues, the R&B, everything. I was just listening to everything. Then we had this radio box in our house, with all these, I don't know what they call it now, those cassettes, cassettes that. So once I turn on the radio, I hear some of the trending songs, then I record them, I just try to record them with my radio set.
When was this?
I go. What?
When you're using the cassettes, what year was this?
I think this was late 90s.
Okay.
Yeah. I think 1996, 1997.
Okay.
Leading to the 2000s,
Sure.
I'll record them. I go over when everybody's out of the house, play them, keep playing. Then I kept I keep learning these songs and I sing them. So from listening to these songs, trying to understand the lyrics, trying to rewrite their lyrics, that's how I started writing my own lyrics little by little. Do you understand? So that's the motivation. I find myself trying to, mime their songs, and then from miming their songs, I'm trying to do any kind of songs myself. So that's the motivation then. The kind of music I was listening to then is different from the kind of music I'm making now, because it was more of a love song those days. You're singing to for women, you're singing about maybe some of those things they sing about, youthful exuberance, maybe cars, they're singing about drugs and all of that. Yeah. But then I just had to do the opposite of those things I was listening to then, for a reason though.
I can totally relate to that. I was in the same time. I don't know. Back then, when a new song would come out, it can one song could consume your life. Like I would listen to songs on repeat, on repeat, on repeat. And when we did that in that time, if you were like me, I couldn't help myself. I was younger. I had the self image in my head of me. I used to fantasize about making music. And
Yeah.
I never
You
had
know,
the.
there were some of those songs that I would listen to. I would be like, I wish I made this song. I wish I was the one who did this
Yeah.
song.
Oh,
Just
I totally feel that, bro.
there was this song by, I think, Clock. It was Product Gene, White Cloth and Product Gene. I said, I don't know if you can remember that song. Clock is the title of that song. That song totally consumed me. I was wishing I made that song. There was Cisco Thumb Song on It's the Dragon, Got to Get It. I was feeling that come on, how did he think about this
Oh,
whole thing? I
insane.
was wishing I made songs, but then it's all good. I'm making better songs today.
Man, I didn't see you. I didn't expect you to bring up the thong song. I didn't see that one coming, bro.
Yeah, those
Um.
songs. I was a hard fan of those guys. I
Oh,
was a
absolutely.
I, Cisco was like a role model then. you know
Yeah.
Cisco, at least there was dance for me. The Drew Hill squad. I was into these guys. I loved Cisco so much. He can sing, he can dance, and then we were trying to also learn some of those dance cues and all of that. I'm not a good dancer. I don't dance, but so these guys try to, they try to mentor us, and with their music, they didn't know how much work they did in the lives of a lot of young people here, but it's all good.
No, you're right. Absolutely. Um. So one of the things I think is the most interesting part of your journey with making music is the fact that you live in Nigeria. We have uh, access to things that you all don't have access to nearly as easily. Uh, how did you how did you actually manage to find a studio? Like how long did you was it hard to find a studio when you were ready to actually record in 2015?
Okay, I had a friend of mine. We were working in the same place, not in the same place per se, but we were connected to the same brand. And he was already known as a musician. He was performing and all of that. So on this particular occasion, we got talking. I told him, guy, I want to go to a studio and record. Then he booked an appointment with me, and I met him up one Sunday evening. He took me to the studio where he was recording. He had a producer there. That's the first producer that I worked with. His name is Minimax. He's a good guy, but so I met with the producer. We talked about the song I wanted to record. The song was called Robo Robo. Robo Robo. The first song I did. That was the first song I ever recorded in my entire life. Robo Robo. I featured that my friend. His name is Emmy. So we worked on that song. After that, I kept going to the studio. I was rapping then. I recorded some more songs. I think about 9 more songs I recorded, but then I trashed all of them because I did Gelio that I also released. I did. There's one Eguamaka is a banger. the song, some of these songs, I was looking for who I could just give them to, because they are no longer the kind of music that I want to consume or I would be proud to play, allow my children sing. So I kept recording, and then something happened. I had a friend of mine, his name is J Lyrics. We were writing. I'm also a writer. We were writing for a particular blog at the time, and he was doing music. Then we got talking. He told me he wanted to introduce me to my current producer, Emex, the guy that I'm working with right now.
Okay.
So there was this DJ friend of mine who was inviting me to come perform for his show. The show usually happens on every October 1st, Nigeria's independence. He had invited me on the previous year, 2017. I couldn't go, but then I promised him I was going to be available the following year. So I needed to get a song that would befit that occasion. So I called up this friend of mine who said he wanted to introduce me to Emex, and then he took me to Emex. Then I had written Adura. You know that my song Adura. So
Yeah.
I went to the studio, and Emex, it was just like 20 minutes. It took him to come up with that beat for Adura, and then we recorded Adura. So for that particular event, I wanted to attend for my friend, but unfortunately I couldn't attend, I couldn't perform. I just decided to drop Adura late 2018, before the Nigeria 2019 election. So that's how I met two of the producers. So then I started working with Emex. Things didn't work out with my previous producer and Emex and I, we blended so much, and then we kept it on from there till what we've been doing till this time around.
Damn, that's a hell of a story. It seems like since you started pursuing music, it's just been kind of pushing you where you need to go with it. Is it common? Do people have home studios in Nigeria?
Not common for people like us that are not common for someone like me. Do you understand? But for those big guys, those big artists, the likes of, I don't want to call their names, those big guys, it's common for them. They all have studios in their places. Okay. What they do is invite the producer they want to work with. The producer comes and all of that. So it's a serious business here. It's a serious business for those people, and people don't joke with music here. But for people like us, no, it's not common. It's not easy to set up a studio here in Nigeria. It's expensive. I wanted to do it actually.
Would you say there's been any mistakes that you made along the way?
When I started music earlier, I was doing the kind of music I would not want to listen to today. And then there was the rush for me to blow up. And then, I had a family for me to blow up and, start reaping off the benefits of making music. And, because of that rush to blow up, I was making a lot of mistakes. And then you would see somebody who will tell you, bring so amount of money, I'm going to put your music to this place. And then I was losing a whole lot of money because people were taking advantage of the fact that I wanted to blow up and all of that. Still, this happened from 2016, 17. Then in 2018, I totally called it a quit. I left music for good. At the time, I was with my late father. Do you understand? He was sick before he died, and then I had my family. I had him living with me, so I didn't have the time. Then I was throwing out a lot of money for music. I just had to, put an end to it and call it a quit. I was done with it. I was frustrated out of it then.
Sure.
So those were some of, but I didn't regret it though. I didn't regret it. I came back to music in 2021. What then happened? Why did I come back to music is another question. I lost my father in 2019. After that, in the following year, the COVID year, I felt sick. I had been battling ulcer for quite some time, and then I felt sick. I was having the pain. The whole of 2020, I was living in the hospital for from one hospital to the other, from one hospital to the other. And then in December 2020, I went to Luth, Lagos Teaching University Hospital here in Lagos, and we did an X-ray and scans and all of that. So they diagnosed my intestine was blocked. You know this sitcom, Everybody Hates Chris. I think he suffered the same thing that I went through. The guy who played that character. So I was diagnosed intestine blockade, and I was sick. I had tumor, and then I did this surgery they call colostomy. I was, defecating from I think from a part of my stomach was cut open, and I carried it for 4 months. But I didn't know, and the doctors didn't detect that there was an appendix that had busted in my system. So I was carrying colostomy for 4 months. They were doing some other checks to know if it was cancerous. So they didn't want to do a full-blown surgery on me to cover it, because they wanted to know the cause of the pain. My brother was suffering for months. I was crying every day of my life. I was in serious pain. And then at the time when they were performing the colostomy, I thought, come on, I'm not going to survive this. It was that bad. And then I was in the hospital. My wife gave birth to this, my daughter, the one you're looking at right now.
Wow.
It was another miracle because there was nobody to take care of her and all of that. But then I suffered this thing till I think it was in April in 2021. I kept going to the hospital. I kept going for tests. I did colonoscopy. We kept spending money. I did a lot of CT scan, MRI, all of those. I can't remember a lot of all those things. And then they finally realized that the tumor that blocked my intestine had disappeared. How it disappeared, I don't know. What happened, they just couldn't find it again. They were confused, and they felt no, they weren't going to take. So they kept checking till finally I went back to the hospital for my normal checkup. I was still carrying the colostomy, and then they had to admit me because there was pain. At some point the colostomy had to block. Nothing was coming out, and it was causing me serious pain. So they admitted me again. I was in Luth, I think, for 2 weeks. All of this period I wasn't eating. I was on injection and drip. I wasn't eating, no food, no water. And then they took me in again, and then I stayed there. I think I was there when the doctors in Nigeria went on strike. If you're listening, if your eyes are on Nigeria, you would know some of these things. Then I was brought back home. Then it was a 10-day strike. After that, I went back to the hospital. So they performed a full-time surgery on me, to know whatever was causing me pains and all of that. Closed up the colostomy, and then they realized I had a ruptured appendix in my system, which nobody detected, nobody saw it. So I think it was about 8 hours they performed the surgery. I didn't know what was happening. I woke up 8 hours later, and then to the glory of God, I was awake and I was alive. So I stayed in the hospital for, I think, about 21 days more before I was discharged. It was while I was in that hospital, I was thinking and saying to myself, I think I had to just go back to music to express, my gratitude to God and all of that. Then one of those days I came back from the hospital, I heard my son singing jargons. One of these trending jargons they will make you listen to. One rubbish song like that with no meaningful lyrics, that with that. And coupled with what I had gone through, I told myself, for the sake of these children, I have to control the kind of music they consume. consume, and the best way that I can do that is sing the kind of song that I want them to listen to. That's why I started doing music again. So on the eve of the night before I was discharged from the hospital, I wrote down my song. I don't know if you listen to my song Winner. If you listen to my song Winner, so I wrote Winner the night I was discharged from the hospital, and after I started getting better, I called up Emex again and we started working again. So that's the story of how I got back to music, or I left music, got back to music, and all of that.
That's a beautiful story, truly. I mean, that story is a ride. I mean, like I can't imagine your headspace when you're going through all of that. It's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
You survive, and the fact that the tumor just disappeared. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy.
That's a miracle. That's a miracle.
Truly.
That's a miracle.
Truly.
That's why I did the song Testify, testify to the goodness of God in my life. So that's a miracle. The doctors couldn't still fathom how that happened. So they kept wondering. One of the doctors asked me, where do you worship? What God do you serve? I don't know. I said I serve the same God everybody serves, Almighty God and all of that. So it's a miracle, truly.
Absolutely, man.
And I'm grateful.
How would you describe success in music for what you want to do? What is success in music for you?
I remember when I dropped one of my album, My Everything. A lot of people were asking me, why are you doing album? Why not drop single, promote it? Then when it gets, I was like, no. My plan is to put out a whole lot of music out there, just as long as I have breath in my lungs and I have the strength to and I still have the grace to record. I'll record as many as I can, put them out. As long as my song is out there, whether anybody is listening to it or not, is a success to me. I don't really, at this stage of my life, I've passed that thing of, wanting to get so famous. Whether I'm famous or not today, tomorrow, the most important thing, I have my family and friends who appreciate me, people whom I love and all of that. As long as everybody is happy around me, that's success to me. I'm not here to just want to, do anything for anything. I just want to do the right thing and then be contented with the things that I am doing. And that is seen in the kind of music that I do. There's one song I did, one of the soundtrack I played for you this evening, Make a Way. I can't wait to release that song. So that is it. But then a friend of mine told me that my ideology is not so good. If you're doing the music to praise God per se, then you need the world to hear it. So you don't know how many people the kind of music you are doing can touch, or how many lives the kind of music you're doing can save. Then I started, okay, let me look at it again. If there is a way, actually, I'm doing it for my own children and for myself, so that so my children can run out of music to sing if they want to sing, or if they want to listen to music. I don't want them to run out of songs. That's why I told myself I'll create as many as possible. But then, since a friend of mine told me that you've got to try to put it out there, let the world hear it, promote it as much as you can. You don't know the lives you might be touching with it, or the lives you might be saving with your music. And I see reason to that. So, trying to be more conscious and, in terms of putting my music out there, let more people hear it. I'm not so into the financial benefits of it. If you look at it in a way, music hardly pays you unless you're so big. But if you're just coming up with like people like us, you have to just get some other job that you can do to take care of yourself and your family, to also take care of the music. So
Absolutely.
the most important part of success for me now is when I finish recording a song and I listen to it and I am happy about it. I play it for my family. They love it. That's a success for me.
That's beautiful, man. And man, it's funny. Almost every single time you ask one of my questions, you answered the next question in that answer. Is there anything that you want to be said about yourself or your music or anything?
Okay, my name is Elem. I am from Nigeria. I am a gospel and inspirational artist. I have beautiful songs, and I'm on social media. You can follow me on Instagram at IamLMC, on Twitter at IamLMC. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you. All right, man. We'll talk soon, man.
Sure.
Much love.